Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gullen. Hanging out with me in the studio today is Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, Barb. I'm doing really good. In
And
fact,
go ahead.
I guess what I'm going to do for our viewers, I'm going to move you. Oh, we just switched places.
We did.
Did you
How
see
about that?
that? A little technical editing as we go here on the video, Barb, but I'm doing good. What were you going to say? How are you doing?
I was going to say, for those of you watching us on video, we have a whole new look to the podcast today.
Yes, yeah, we have a new overlay, a new logo. Why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers about the new name and the new logo?
Well, we have had a name change in our company. We are no longer Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. We are now BG Wealth Advisory. Now it's the same great people, the same great staff, the same great partnerships, just a different name so that, there were too many safe harbors in general. And we were getting mixed up we were getting calls as a payroll company, we were getting calls as a roofing company, and people were getting frustrated with us. And we're like, well, it's not our fault. But it was just easier for us to go through and just put a new name on the company and to go from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Barb, I think that's great. And I think the name encompasses what you are, who you are, and a wealth advisory. It makes more sense. I like the rebranding, and I think that's great.
We are
And
super excited about it around
yeah,
here.
yeah, that's really cool. And so the new website is bgwealthmanagement.com. That's great. It's the
Or
same.
bgwealthadvisory.com will get you there too. So
Oh, okay. So there's two different ways to get there.
two different addresses that get you to the same place. The post office would hate us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. bgwealthadvisory.com. That's great. And 913-553-6222 is still the phone number if you
Yep.
want to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation. Well, yeah, I think that's
Absolutely.
great. I'm glad we've got a new a template here and a new look. And you look great as always, Barb. What's going on with
Thank
you
you.
besides the rebranding? That's a big part of what you've been doing, I know.
Well, okay. On a personal note, I get to go see my two favorite teams play this weekend.
Really? The Vikings and the Twins are playing this weekend? I didn't know that. I'm kidding you.
I need sound effects on my side.
See, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm from Minnesota, so those are
I know
my
you
teams.
are.
What teams are you going to go see? Are you the Royals?
And the Chicago Cubs.
The Royals and the Cubs.
It's
Awesome.
interleague play. I am so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I somebody out there is saying, Barb, you need a life, and I probably do, but whatevs. I'm happy.
When are you going? When's that game?
We're going Friday night. They're playing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, wow. Friday night game. That'll be fun. Yeah,
Yes,
and the
I have
Royals and the
seats
Cubs.
behind third base. I'm
Oh,
so
nice.
excited. Yes.
Nice seats. That's great.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's fun. And baseball's gotten a little more fun since they've worked to shorten up the games a little bit. They don't drag as much, and it's fun to watch a baseball game. It's fun to go out to the stadium, to the ballpark, watch the game,
Yeah. It
have some
also
peanuts and
happens,
Cracker Jacks.
and it's Patrick Mahomes bobblehead night.
No way.
Well, I don't know if you know, Patrick Mahomes owns part of the Kansas City Royals.
He does?
He does.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah,
Well, make sure you get there early enough to get one.
I hope so.
You got to get there early.
I know, but I also have,
And they're worth
the
money. You can. I've noticed that those bobbleheads that they have. I bet they'll be going on. They'll be going on eBay in a couple of months for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, and hopefully the other
Collectible.
person that's going with me will be on time.
Yes. Yeah. Try to get there as early as possible so you can get one because they're limited. I know I've shown up to games too late to get the the giveaway for the game, and it's always disappointing when you see everybody else with one.
And it's usually a sellout when the Cubs are in town. So
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Yeah. Yeah. The interleague play, like you say.
They're very popular.
Well, go Royals, right? That's who we're rooting for.
I'm rooting for both.
Okay.
It's like I told my daughter today, I was talking to her. I got to visit with her for a little while, and she's like, "Oh, mama, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I get to be happy no matter who wins this time."
Yeah. Well, realize when you say you're rooting for both, you are we got a lot of Royals fans out there listening. So
We do,
be
we
be
do, and
careful, Barb. Be careful.
I love the Royals. The only time they're ever gonna see each other again is if they're in the World Series together.
Right.
And if that ever happens, then I promise you, listening audience, I will choose a side. But for this fun little interleague play, I get to just sit back and enjoy that I get to see two of my favorite teams in the same city at the same
Yeah, it'll be interesting too. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen very often, like you say.
No, and I mean, we swept the White Sox this past weekend.
Yeah,
So,
nice. Nice.
yeah, so we'll see. I think Arizona's in town in between then.
Hmm,
But
okay.
since we are not doing a sports podcast
No,
today,
we're not. We're actually
what's your
talking about
favorite sandwich?
my favorite sandwich. That's a great question. Boy, well, I like a steak sandwich, that's for sure. But
Mhm.
if that counts, but for cold sandwiches, I don't know. I like a club or
Okay.
something with some provolone turkey. I like ham,
Mhm.
turkey, provolone. I like it all,
I do like it
So
all.
I like a club, no tomato, maybe. It's kind of my standard go-to if I go to like a Jersey Mike's. I get
Okay.
the Club Supreme with no tomato.
I'm partial to a good corned beef,
Oh, I love
but
corned beef. Yeah. Yeah.
but like you, I
A
like a good
Reuben.
beef
I like a
sandwich
good
too.
Reuben with some pastrami and stuff.
Yeah.
I love a good Reuben. It's hard for me to pick a sandwich overall. And a Cuban too, with the
Yes.
pork and the
Now,
ham and the pickles
fun
and mustard.
fact, did you know pastrami and corned beef are the same cut of meat?
Yes, I actually did know that. I'm
Not
a big
everybody
fan. I'm a big
does.
deli fan. So,
Not
yep.
everybody does.
I
But
love that, and I'm half English, half Irish. So the Irish in me loves some good pastrami and corned
there you
beef.
go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Although I noticed that you didn't say you really liked being part of the sandwich generation, which you
I
are.
d- I am, yeah. I'm on the Gen X side of things, older Gen
Mhm.
X side of things, and I am in the sandwich generation. I have 3 kids in college and 2 parents that need
Mhm.
long-term care. So isn't that what they call sandwich?
It is the
Yeah.
sandwich generation, and I'm kind of in between being a sandwich generation. I did a
Mhm.
little bit of the sandwich part with my in-laws when they got sick.
Sure.
Um, and then, my dad passed away 17 years ago.
Oh, I know.
So, um, but, praise God, my mom is still in very good health.
That's good.
So we're not sandwiching there yet, but, and I still have a daughter in high school. But for those in our age group and some even a little bit younger,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
realistically, um, my dad went into dialysis when my 20 almost 23-year-old was 4,
Mhm.
and then they were able to change his meds and get him off of dialysis, so he was really
Yeah.
only in dialysis for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But, even then, while he was in the hospital, while they were trying to figure out what was going on, we were at the hospital every night and he was in a regular room. So I brought my daughter and I brought coloring books and I brought things to keep her occupied and I was there. Um, but for other people where it's a longer term care issue, you don't have that flexibility and you are trying to take care of your kids, you're trying to take care of your family, you are if you're not financially contributing to mom and dad's care, and hopefully you're not, hopefully they planned for that adequately, but your energy is still going there. The last thing that you might be thinking about is taking care of yourself and creating some tax efficient strategies for retirement and for your kids' college future and all those kinds of things. So we're going to take a few minutes here and talk about some things that you in the sandwich generation can take a few minutes to implement that can help you longer term to prepare. You know, I am all about paying the amount of taxes that you owe and that you should pay. We need those taxes for the infrastructure of our country. Do I think that there's a lot of overspending going on? Yes, I think we all think that. But we still have to pay for our national defense. We still have to pay for our roads and our highways.
Yes.
You know, there are things that our money goes to that really are good and necessary things that we would miss rather quickly if they weren't being paid for. However, if there is a way to create a situation where I don't have to overpay those taxes, I am also all about implementing those not only in my world, but in my clients' worlds as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is tough. And, I'm right in there. I think a lot of Gen Xers and even some of the younger side of baby boomers, and of course, Gen Xers,
Mhm.
which we are.
We
Um,
are.
yeah, we are.
Say
We
it
are.
loud, say it proud.
You're a lot younger than I am, but yes,
Not by
we're still
much.
part of the, at least 20 years younger. Um, oh no, that's just you look 20 years younger. I
Thank
act 20
you.
years younger. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
It's
so we
my
complement each
immaturity.
other perfectly.
It's my
Good.
immaturity. It throws people off, as I like to
Let's
say.
call it your youthful approach to life rather than your immaturity.
Yes, let's do that. I like that better. I like you're a glass half full type person, Barbara. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when you start talking about taxes and bring this into this, the sandwich generation is one thing where, like, my wife and I find ourselves, I'm spending time and money for my parents. We're spending
Mhm.
time and money for our kids, and yet we're
Right.
still supposed to save for retirement, keep putting more and more in there, and you don't want to have to
Mhm.
touch that for your kids' college but taxes can really you need to plan, especially as we approach retirement. And my generation, Gen X, more and more people are going to start getting into retirement age, into the
We
60s.
are, which is
And
crazy.
so many people are going to be hitting retirement age, but do they have a tax plan in place? And there are a lot of aspects to tax planning for this, especially this specific generation of people.
There are. And, let's touch on college funding really quick. This is going
Yes.
to be a little bit um, outside of what you normally talk about with other advisors, I would guess. For those of you that are wanting your kids to go to college, if you haven't saved or you don't know how to pay for it, I want you to look for favorable programs.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I know that, I had one client who lived in Texas and his son got into the University of Texas. And as long as his income was below a certain threshold, his son was able to attend either at a drastically reduced rate or maybe even, I don't want to be misquoted, but he might have actually been able to go at no charge
Sure.
as long as he maintained a certain grade point average and his dad's adjusted income stayed below a certain threshold.
Right. Yep.
And this is one time where his dad had switched his retirement contributions from traditional to Roth. And his Roth contributions were added to his W-2 that year, which then put his income over that threshold. So all of the sudden, he had created a situation where his son had to pay a lot more to go to college, at least for that year.
Oh, but
Okay.
wait, you said it's
So,
money
but
that came out of a Roth?
it's because he took his traditional contributions to
Oh,
his 401k and converted it to a
so
Roth.
he converted from traditional to Roth. So that
Right.
year, that
Yeah,
all
he made
counts as income that year.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So, and I am the first one to say that Roth is almost always the way to go. If you're in a situation like that where as long as your taxable income stays below a certain threshold, that your child can attend a school at no charge,
Yeah.
I know it's counterintuitive,
And there are
but
some other things too where there are other reasons you don't want your taxable income,
right.
not just discounted schooling or free schooling for college, but there are other reasons, especially as a parent or an older person,
Mhm.
you might want to keep your taxable income under a certain level to get other benefits and perks that the government offers,
Exactly.
be it healthcare, be it, there are a lot of other things that
Your
could be
Medicare
affected.
Part B premium is
Yes.
now determined by your taxable income.
Yeah.
And then I also have another friend here in Kansas. They adopted their kids, and their son, because he is a minority, was given the same opportunity for a great college here in Kansas. It wasn't even a state school, where he has a free ride because he met the criteria,
Yeah.
and may even get the opportunity to go to law school and
Wow.
get out of that with little to no debt at all,
That's
which
huge.
would be huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So tax advantage isn't always just talking about the future. There are things that you can do in the immediate. Now, if
Yeah.
you're not in a situation like that where you're trying to pay for a kid going to college, maybe your kids are going to trade school, maybe they're taking a couple of gap years, maybe they are going to do a work study program or something like that. And, parents, you don't have to pay for your kids' education. And if you're sacrificing your retirement at the expense of their education, then we need to sit down and talk and figure out if that really is the highest and best use of your resources at this time.
Yeah. If you're sacrificing your retirement or your retirement planning, even
Hmm.
if it's before retirement, if you don't want to sacrifice your retirement savings or
Right,
money that you need to be putting into retirement savings,
right.
which is basically sacrificing your retirement once you get
Hmm.
there. You don't want to sacrifice your retirement income now before you get to retirement by paying for your kids to go through college. And a lot of people don't think that way. We want to do everything we can for our kids,
Right.
but you make a great point. But like you said, Roths are great, but you have to make sure you're in the right situation where if you can do it in a year where it's not going to negatively impact that, or spread it out. Maybe, I know you have a lot of strategies, but you're just illustrating why it's so important, especially for people that might end up in this situation, to work with, or are in this situation, a
Hmm.
financial professional like yourself. You got to work with somebody who can look at all the factors and look at the big picture and say, wait, you don't want to do that. You've got this over here. But that's the difference between getting to know somebody, and you
Hmm.
in your discussions with them, you find out, oh, my son's going to college. Oh, and to ask them, do you have anything that you have to keep your taxable income under a certain level for, or these types. Do you have kids going to college? That's, if it's a yes, then you immediately might not want to do a Roth, or because the FAFSA that you fill out, the loans they
Hmm.
get and the money, that's determined by your parents, in the colleges.
Right.
If you have to put your parents' income down on those applications that get sent to the
Hmm.
school, and they look at that. So
Right. And on the flip side, if you are making a good living and have excess cash flow that you're looking at finding ways to invest, it might not be totally to your advantage. And notice I said might. There is a big disclaimer here, folks. I'm not offering you investment advice because I haven't met with you one on one. If you want to find out what you should do specifically, then give us a call at 913-553-6222, and or go to the website anchoryourretirement.com, and you can reach out to us through either of those channels and schedule that complimentary consultation. But if you have really good cash flow coming in, if you're somebody that is trying to retire before age 62, when you can start drawing Social Security benefits, rather than putting a bunch of money into those qualified plans, and for some of you out there, you're thinking about retiring even younger, you might not be able to access those plans without a penalty unless we do some really funky stuff with the IRS tax
Right.
code. To
Right.
access that money, it might benefit you to only contribute to your employer's plan to where you get the full match, and then start investing that money in other tools and in other vehicles where you have access to it before that 59 and a half mark, before that age 55 mark for some of you who have pensions and other type of deferred compensation plans, where you aren't going to have to worry about incurring a tax liability. And in some cases, you can pull that money out and it's not considered taxable income. It's not ordinary income.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, it really does pay to work with somebody who has other ideas and strategies. You might have done a great job doing some saving and investing in mutual funds or in specific stocks. I mean, if you've invested in the tech sector in the last couple of years, you couldn't help but make money. However, there are times where you need to pull in an expert. Well, I'm not going to say the word expert. We need to edit that out. Where we pull in somebody who has experience with other tools and access to other tools that you might not have,
Right.
that will help us create that successful retirement that you're envisioning, no matter what that vision is.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody who is really experienced in these areas, and that this is
Mhm.
what they do, and I think that makes perfect sense, Barb. So, what's another way that people can plan for taxes, or something we should know about?
From a tax advantage standpoint, if you know that you're going to have kids going to a post-secondary school, or even if you're considering like private high school, I would look at putting money into a 529 plan. Okay. It's
Yep.
not going to give you a federal deduction. You can depend if you contribute to your state's 529 plan where you reside, you can get a state tax deduction, but you're pulling that money out tax free as long as it's
Yes.
being used for education expenses. And they have expanded the definition of those qualified expenses. So you can now pay for the books, the dorm fees, the other college related expenses, and still be able to pull that money out tax free.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I have 529 plans for uh, two of our three children.
Mhm.
We did pretty good for the first two, and we didn't do as well for the third. But we're making up for that, and that's a great idea, Barb. I think that you have to save, and there are other ways to do it too. If you don't want to use a 529, I know, Barb, you've mentioned other vehicles that you have. Some
Yep.
people put their money in other types of vehicles for their kids' college education
Some
to get
people use
growth.
cash value life insurance
Yes.
because then they aren't restricted. They don't have the same constraints that a 529 plan does. If you pull the money out of a 529 plan and it's not used for educational expenses, not only are you incurring taxes, but it's an automatic 10% penalty.
Yeah. Which is not good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. We have no problem though using our money that we've saved in the 529s on college expenses. There are plenty.
And that's awesome that your kids are going to college, but sometimes you have kids that don't want to go,
Yeah.
or that really you find out after you've put money in it that maybe they aren't suited to a traditional
Sure.
college
Yeah.
track.
Yeah.
Now, I think you can use the 529 plans for trade schools and other career
You
focused
can
things now.
now. Yeah, they've
Now they've
made some
changed that.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
So,
great.
yeah, I mean, it's all about what is best for everybody involved.
Yeah.
And, you can also get a tax benefit for establishing your own long term care insurance. And even though I am not a huge fan of it, sometimes it's necessary.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
if you think you might need it, I have clients who three of their four parents had Alzheimer's and are in some sort of memory care. So they pretty much know that the writing is on the wall. and can
Yeah.
anticipate that, barring any significant changes in technology and in medical advancements to help with that, they need to prepare for that.
Yeah.
So, and memory care gets really expensive really quick.
Yes, it does. My mom's cost where she's at, she needs full-time skilled
Mhm.
nursing care is 11,000 a month.
Doesn't take long to get really expensive, does it?
No, no. When she first went in, and it was still full-time care, it was only 6,000. But now she has her own room, and she needs more and more care, and she's having memory issues. So then the price
Mhm.
goes up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Memory care is the most expensive, and it's sad.
And
Yeah.
is the most likely to be used.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So, but there are other ways to cover
Mm,
long-term care costs
mm.
other than just straight long-term care insurance, right? I mean,
There
we've
are,
talked
there
about that
are.
before. Yeah.
And, if you want to explore those options, that's what we're here to help you figure
Yeah.
out. It's the best use of your resources and making sure that they work for you, that we're not lighting a match to something that if you don't use it, a beneficiary gets to take advantage of your hard work and benefit from that. Um, or that ultimately, we're designing the retirement that you wanted, trying to cover all of the bases, making sure that more goes to your family than to Uncle Sam.
Right.
And
That's important.
and
Yeah.
um utilizing the money the way you want to utilize it. It's a tool. So let's put it to work the way you want it to work, not necessarily the way everybody else thinks it should work.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Barb. Well, we're almost out of time. How can our listeners get a hold of you to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation?
Like I said, they can always go to the website anchoryourretirement.com, and that will point you to the website with a contact form where we'll get a notice and we'll reach out to you. Or you can dial us at 913-553-6222 and select the option for appointments and scheduling. And a member of our team will get right back to you if they don't answer the call right then and there. Get you on the calendar to meet with either myself or one of the other qualified fiduciaries that we have working with us in the office.
Awesome. Well, Barb, great show today. Tax
Thanks.
planning for the sandwich generation. I love talking about sandwiches. You knew that.
Yes.
You knew I'd love the show title. So that's great. All right. Well, Barb, great show. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gullet.
We'll see you soon.